Oh, hello! It's Chef Diane, and I'm so happy to be cooking along with you today. And I hope that you're having a great summer so far and that you're getting out there in the beautiful weather, being active, getting lots of sunshine, and also eating really good food. So I hope I can help you with that. Today we are making baked pretzel crusted chicken nuggets with a honey mustard dipping sauce. And they are a better for you option than fast food chicken nuggets. So if you like chicken nuggets, I'm going to show you a better way to eat them. And depending on the ingredients that you use, they can be a fantastic, healthy choice. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be making today and get all of our equipment and ingredients out. And of course, we're going to start with our hand washing. So hand washing is super important today. Go ahead and get started with that. We're going to be using two potentially hazardous foods. That means that there are two foods that contaminate your workstation and make people sick if you're not really careful with them. So one of them is egg and one of them is chicken. So anytime we touch anything that has egg or chicken, we're going to wash our hands. So today is going to be ooey and gooey, a lot of hand washing. But let's talk about what our ingredients are. So you're going to get yourself set up with 3 bowls. One bowl is going to have 2 tablespoons of flour and some fresh ground pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon, and a teaspoon of salt. Now I've got a little whisk so I can whisk all that together. The next bowl is going to have an egg, and you could have a whisk or you could have a little fork. We're going to crack that egg later and I'll show you how. The third bowl will have about a cup of, I'm using mini pretzels. What you want to do is yield a 1/2 cup of crushed pretzels. Put them in a plastic bag and we're going to break them up and crush them further on along in our recipe. But these can be in a plastic bag. Now grab a plastic bag and you can fill it up. You'll also need, of course, chicken. So we're doing our chicken nuggets with chicken tenders, which are the thin strips that you can buy already prepared in the grocery market. We're going to cut them smaller because we want our chicken nuggets to cook super quickly. So you could also just use the tenders and make fingers, but we're going to do some super quick little bites that are not going to take up a whole lot of time out of your day. Perfect snack or a little lunch. So 1/2 pound of chicken tenders. We need a little bit of golden or yellow mustard, whatever you want to call it, and some good quality cooking spray. So you could use avocado oil, you could use a vegetable oil. I don't recommend any cooking sprays that have a lot of preservatives, chemicals, and additives in them. This is just olive oil in a spray bottle. Then we're going to have all of our ingredients that we'll use for our honey mustard dipping sauce. So you can use yellow mustard like this, or I'm using a combination of 3 mustards. So I have some ground mustard that has like a little bit of the mustard seeds in it, some Dijon mustard, and some yellow mustard. So I'm just mixing it up a little bit, just making it different. You'll need a tablespoon of mayonnaise, good quality mayonnaise. I like to use the avocado oil mayonnaise, it's really yummy, and a tablespoon of honey. Some washed chives. I've washed and dried my chives. And some sriracha, totally optional. If you want to heat up your dipping sauce a little bit, if you like that spicy quality to a dipping sauce, then this is your secret ingredient, just a little tiny squirt of sriracha. We're going to make a dipping sauce later, so we're going to put all the dipping sauce ingredients over to the side. And then we can talk about our equipment for getting our chicken nuggets done. So as I said, these are baked, so they're going to be much healthier for you than fried chicken nuggets. The first thing that we'll need to do is set up our sheet pan. I printed out the recipe for this because I always like to refer to my recipe as I'm cooking along. You'll have the full recipe after I'm done with this video. I will post this along with the video. But next time you make it, get the recipe ready in front of you. You can put it on a tablet or you can print it on a piece of paper so you know exactly what's going to go in everything. Especially with baking, recipes are super important. So the recipe is always going to have ingredients, what you need to have measured, how you have to cut it, and then the method on the bottom. So we'll have a sheet pan. We're going to put a sheet of aluminum foil. Two reasons for this. One is it's gonna make our chicken nuggets just a little bit crispier. And two, it's gonna keep our pan nice and clean, so it'll be easier to wash up. After we have our aluminum foil on the pan, we're just gonna spray it with some of our olive oil. This is gonna help our chicken nuggets get nice and crispy. So after you've prepared that, you can just put that to the side. The next thing that we'll do is we are going to set up our 3 bowls. So this is a method that uses dry ingredients and wet ingredients to make everything stick. So the first most important thing is your flour. So 2 tablespoons of flour. They're just gonna lightly coat your chicken, and they're in a bowl with that salt and pepper, and they're whisked together. So if you haven't had a chance to measure out your 2 tablespoons of flour, go ahead and take care of that now. I have these little mini whisks. You can use it to get all that incorporated, or you can just use a fork to stir it together. The second thing that we'll need is an egg. So the egg, we're going to crack it like we always crack it. So instead of cracking it on the edge of a bowl, we're gonna crack it on a surface. You can crack it on a surface, or you can crack it in this bowl right here. Just give it a little tap. Now you're gonna see that it gets a soft spot here. You're gonna hold on your egg with fingers that are like kittens. I always say those little soft kitten paws. And then your thumbs are like little teeny tiny bird beaks that just slightly tap on the bottom of the egg, and then you open it up like a book. And you shouldn't have any shells in your eggs if you have done it just like that. Sometimes you'll get a little, this one has a little bit of a spot in it. I'm gonna use the shell just to take that out. Or if you get a shell in it, the shell is also a useful way to take out the little fragments of shell, because for some reason they stick to it like a magnet. This little spot's not coming out though. There we go. There we go. All right. I've touched egg. I need to wash up. Soap and water, 20 seconds. So I will be right back while you get your flour and your egg going. Next things next, we are going to get our pretzels all ready to crust our chicken. So you'll need a plastic bag, about a cup of pretzels inside. We should have a half a cup by the time we're done. And you're gonna need to find a meat pounder. So meat pounder looks like this. It has a flat side and it has a side that has a bunch of little bumps on it. Use the flat side. Put your pretzels down on your cutting board and just give them a little bit of a smack. Not too hard, because you don't want to break open the bag. If you go too hard, sometimes the bag will break. Now as it starts to get smaller, you'll have to bring it all together again and just give that a good little smash. If you don't have a meat pounder, you could use a skillet that is light enough for you to lift, or a rolling pin. The rolling pin, you can just roll over it. Now these pretzels are going to give the chicken a delicious flavor, a little bit of salt. And if you're using a natural pretzel, like a whole grain one with no preservatives, you're going to have a really healthy result. I'm actually using these Roll Gold pretzel twists. My family loves them, so that's what I got today. But they do have a little bit of corn syrup, corn oil in them. They're healthy-ish. They're not the healthiest. But if you're gluten intolerant, you could also use almond oil or almond flour on this, and you can also use a gluten-free pretzel as well. So go ahead and smash it. I'm going to say hi to my friends that have checked in. So I've got Dell on the camera, and they're going to make this after Avalon goes to camp. Avalon is going to camp for a month. Big shout out to Avalon. I think that's a really brave girl. She's gonna have so much fun with all these adventures that she's having up in the east at camp. So keep on pounding. And just make sure that you have all your big bits broken up into little bits. I'm telling you, this is fun. So look at what we have going on. We have a little mise en place. We always talk about that. Get everything in its place. So I've got my flour, I've got my egg, and I have my pretzels. I'm going to do a little thing to my eggs just to make them really super flavorful. You're going to have like a few little crunchy bits of pretzels and then broken up bits. That's perfectly fine. That's exactly what you want. For my egg, I'm going to put a little bit of mustard in it. It's going to tie everything in, all the flavors. It's 1 tablespoon. And then we'll use our whisk to whisk all that together. So there we go. I like to smash the yolk with my whisk, get everything together, get the egg white mixed in with the egg yolk, or else you're gonna have little streaks of white on your chicken nuggets. But this, with the mustard and the egg yolk, is gonna give it a beautiful golden color when it bakes. Oh, there we go. So we have everything set up for what we need to make our nuggets. We just have to get our chicken ready now. But the first thing we want to do is get our oven ready for the chicken. So go to your oven, have an adult help you put it on to 450 degrees. So it's super high. It's going to make the nuggets really crispy and crunchy. So 450 degrees. It'll take about 5 to 10 minutes to heat it up. And by the time we have our chicken all mise en place, ready to go, then we will be nice and hot. So for my tenders, I'm going to use a cutting board. I like to use a plastic cutting board. The reason for that is that I can just throw that right into my dishwasher where the high heat of the dishwasher is going to get all the anything that's potentially contaminating off. Get a knife that fits your hand. It should be a sharp knife. Use it with care. You're also going to grab some tongs. You could use your hands to flour your nuggets, or you can use, as I do, tongs. I have 2. One goes into the wet ingredients and one goes into the dry ingredients. So have that set up, cutting board, knife, tongs. If you want to use some food quality gloves, some food handling gloves, you can use that as well. I'm just going to use my hands and I'm going to wash them really well afterwards. So you take your tenderloin, put it on your cutting board, and we're going to cut it into just little nuggets. And the nuggets, I want them to be about 1 inch in size. And the reason for that is that's going to help them cook really quickly. The bigger your food is, the longer it takes to cook. So just about 1 inch. Push them over to the side. This is a 1/2 pound. It's going to be enough for about a snack for 4. If you wanted to make it into a whole meal, you could do a full pound. A full pound would serve 4 as an entree. The tenderloin is the most tender part of the chicken breast. So these will be nice and tender. So there we have it. Here's my chicken. It's all ready to go into my coating method. So I'm going to talk to you about the 3-part coating method after you have that all cut up. I'm going to put my knife in the sink, and then I'm going to give myself another 20-second hand wash while you finish cutting your tenderloin up into little nuggets. Then you're going to hand wash too. All right, hands are all washed. Here we go. We're going to coat our nuggets. So grab your sheet pan that you prepared. Let me figure out the best way to get this all going on so you can see what's going on. I made some extra nuggets because I'm going to do a photo shoot of these later. So I have a blog that I put these pictures on, and so I'll take some beautiful pictures of these nuggets after they're done. These ones my family's going to eat. As soon as they come out of the oven, they're going to be eaten right up. All right, so here's what we're going to do. This is a wet tong. This is a dry tong. The dry tong is going to put these little chicken nuggets, about 6 of them, into my shallow bowl. If you're not using a bowl, you could use a pie pan. You could use a metal mixing bowl, what have you. Then we're just going to really gently dip these in the flour. We don't want these super floury because they'll get too gooey and gummy. Shake off the flour and then it goes into the egg. So give it a shake, shake, shake. Put it in the egg. Not too gooey, ooey. And then with our wet tongs, we're just going to give it a little bit of a coat in the egg. And again, this egg is just going to coat it a slight bit just to make it wet enough to cling to the pretzel crust. And we're going to use our dry tongs. We'll use our wet tongs to take it out of the crust, out of the egg, into the crust. Called wet dry method of coating. Don't let your tongs touch the pretzel crust or you're going to get a big mound of gooey stuff at the end of your tongs. Now the dry tongs, take them out. And I take the pretzel coating and I kind of just put it over the top of the pretzel nuggets and then roll it around in there. Flip it. Until it's all coated. Then it goes onto the sheet pan. So we're just going to keep going through this. So take your time, use your 2-tong method. I've got mine going onto a sheet pan spaced out enough so it gets enough heat in between each nugget to get nice and crispy and brown. So you don't want to crowd them on the pan. And then we go again. So there's my wet tongs. Here's my dry tongs. It's going to go into the flour. About 6. Give it a light coating in the flour. This flour is what makes everything stick to the chicken. Because the chicken's kind of slippery. So this kind of gives it a little traction when everything else goes on. It also has seasoning in it, so it gives it a nice flavor. All right, so dry flour has gone on there. Again, you can use almond flour, wheat flour, coconut flour, any kind of flour that you prefer. And then with our wet tongs, we give it a flip in that egg. It's giving it a nice golden color and getting it ready for its pretzel coating. And then with the wet tongs, it goes into the pretzels. If you're doing this with your hands, you might you'll do it with one hand dry and one hand wet. So that way you don't get big flour hands. Then we're gonna flip this around. Now that it has an egg coating on, it gets flipped around in the pretzel coating. This pretzels are gonna keep the chicken so crispy and moist. Make sure you get it on both sides, and then it comes onto the pan. We only have 6 more to go. If you haven't turned on your oven, remember we're doing it 450. The 450 is going to help these get nice and golden on the outside and cook quickly on the inside. Okay, dry tongs go into the flour. If you're using a dry hand, then you'd use your dry hand to go into the flour. I have a little bit more than 6, but I think it's gonna all fit in there. Lightly coat it all. Shake off any extra flour. Goes into the egg mixture. You should be pros by now. There we go. I put this dry tongs over into the pretzel coating. I'm gonna get rid of this chicken board. I'm gonna put it right into the dishwasher. That way I know that it's gonna be clean and sanitized. And I'll do the same thing with these dishes. Hope you're all doing great with your nuggets. I've got mine in the egg. Now they're gonna go into the pretzel coating. If you're getting low on pretzel coating, you can always smash a few more up. And it's a really easy crust to make. You don't have to put any seasoning in it or... All right, so now I'm gonna put my wet tongs aside. Final little coating of these pretzels. It's gonna go into my sheet pan. Let me check and see how my oven's heating up. I am at 411 right now. They're gonna go into the oven at 450 and you're gonna bake them for about 5 minutes. Then we're gonna check them, turn them, and bake them for another 5 minutes. These are tiny. If you had bigger pieces, you'd go anywhere from 7 to 8 minutes. But I cut these 1 inch thick, 1 inch pieces, because I want it to cook quickly. So let's have a look at how this is gonna be on your sheet pan. Just 1 sheet pan, unless you had more chicken than I had, then you might want to prepare a second one. So let's check it out. So you have a sheet pan. Everything's evenly distributed on the pan. Nothing's too crowded. You have your coating of olive oil spray. Last thing you're gonna do, give it another coating on top, just a light spray. And that's what's gonna help it be like, have like a fried consistency in the oven. All right, so this is going in the oven. My oven is at 450 now, and I'm gonna set my timer for 5 minutes so I can check it. As soon as you're ready with yours, go ahead and do the same. I'm gonna give my sink, my countertop a wipe because I've had all this egg and chicken on top of it. I need to make sure it's sanitized now. So I'm gonna grab some disinfectant spray. I'm gonna give it a wipe, and then we're gonna make our sauce while our chicken nuggets are in the oven. So let's get reset to make our next recipe. This is a big part of when we do cooking camp. getting the cleanup and the reset is so important. Because we'll make one recipe and then we'll get ready to go on to a second one. And if our station isn't clean and sanitized, then our food's gonna really be affected by that. So disinfectant spray, paper towel, and make sure that you're not wiping all the stuff on the counter onto the floor, because your parents are not gonna like that. I'll do a final hand wash while you get your mustard, honey, mayonnaise, and if you like, Siracha sauce out. Get a bowl for mixing, and here's what we've got. 3 tablespoons of mustard. Now remember, I am doing 3 different types of mustard, but if you just prefer yellow mustard, you can use that as well. So your tablespoons, you don't have to worry about them being leveled off. Just squirt it into a tablespoon and put it in. One thing I wanted to show you is that with your tablespoons, when you're putting something sticky in it, you can use cooking spray to help the stick come off. So you just give a little tiny squirt cooking spray. Make sure that it's evenly distributed. And then as you put your ingredient into the tablespoon, you can just tilt it out and it just comes right out. It doesn't stick in there at all. The next thing that you'll need is a tablespoon of mayonnaise. And you can measure it in the same tablespoon that you just used because it's all going together anyway. If you want to do a little shot of cooking spray in there, you can. I already have my mayonnaise measured out. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. And a tablespoon of honey. The cooking spray trick is a fantastic thing for honey. Your honey will not stick in the tablespoon if you put a little shot of cooking spray in it. Then we're going to mix this together. So you can use a spatula like this, or you can use a whisk and stir it together. And what's your favorite dipping sauce for when you have a chicken nugget? Some people like ketchup. Some people like buffalo sauce. I just thought that this honey mustard sauce would be a great little addition to our pretzel crusted chicken nuggets, because pretzels and mustard go so perfectly together. If you want a little heat, you can just do a tiny little squirt, and I am talking tiny. Experiment with it. Do a little tiny bit, and I'm not going to put any in mine, but I'll show you what a tiny little squirt is. Just like that. Start with something that small, and then whisk it together, give it a taste, and then add more if you think it's not spicy enough. There's still one more ingredient, which is our chives. So we just need a teaspoon of chives. It's just a tiny little bit, but let me show you. Chives are an onion, and they just, when you buy them at the market, they just come in these little the green tops. They do have a white bottom to them, just like a green onion. It's just a smaller green onion. And the best way to cut them, you want to cut them into tiny, tiny, tiny little slices. And scissors work really well for them. So you take about, to get a teaspoon, we're going to have about, let me see, I have 6 chives. I have them all stacked up. I'm just giving it a little tap tap on the counter so they're all even. And then I'm just going to squeeze them closely together. I'm going to hold it over my bowl, and I'm just going to give them a tiny, tiny, tiny little cut. So let me show you what that's going to look like on my hand. So it's just so small. Just a little teeny tiny bit of chives. Or I'm sorry, a slice. We're going to do a teaspoon of chives total, which is about 6 chives. But you want to just cut them so a tiny little bit goes into your sauce. And then that's going to get mixed in, and you won't get a big bite of chives. hold your fingers away from the scissors as you start to go down to the base of the chives. Just keep moving your fingers down. Keep them pinched together. And when you get to the end, just throw those parts of the chive away. You don't have to get every single part of the chive. You could also do this with a knife, but the scissors are more exact. So see, I got to the end. I can't hold on to the chives anymore. I'm just gonna put that aside. And then this is what the chives are gonna look like in our sauce. So they're cut just very, very fine. Teeny, teeny, tiny pieces. And we're gonna stir them together. When we're making a sauce, usually we wanna put a little salt and pepper in it. Mustard is already pretty highly seasoned, but a pinch of salt and pepper is usually where we start with the sauce. And then we wanna taste. So always make sure that you have enough tasting spoons. We're gonna give this a little taste. And we're gonna think if it needs more honey, if it is not seasoned enough with salt and pepper. I love it. I think it's absolutely perfect. Maybe a tad bit more of honey if you like it in a sweeter dip. But I think this is absolutely perfect. Now let me show you what our chicken nuggets look like right now. I'm looking for a little bit of golden. And I have got it. So what I need to do with these is give them a flip. So they've been in there for 5 minutes. I can see already that the chicken nuggets are starting to get cooked through because they're turning white before they were pale. And I'm gonna take another pair of tongs, this new set of tongs, or a spatula, and I'm gonna give them a turn. So I'm gonna turn them all over. I'm gonna let them go in the oven for another 5 minutes. 5 to 7 is the guideline here. And because they're gonna take a little bit of time, I'm going to sign off on this live video and put a video in the comments of what they look like when they're all done. Because what I wanna do is I wanna open them up and show you what the inside looks like when they're all done, so you can determine yourself what chicken nuggets look like when they're completely done. So I'm gonna keep on turning these over, and then I'm going to put a post in the comments after this live. I'm also gonna post the entire recipe so you can make it again. And I'm gonna ask for you to please send me your pictures. Let me know how your chicken nuggets turned out. What's your favorite dipping sauce? And if you thought they were delicious. All right, so Chef Diane signing off. Thanks for cooking along with me today. I'm gonna give you an update on how my chicken nuggets look, and I hope that you enjoy yours. Thanks so much. Bye, guys.